Another episode of America's Real Estate Show. We are so excited that you are with us today. If this is your first time with us, welcome. I'm Ashley, your host, and this is the stage where we bring top producers from across the country right here to our studio in Chicago. And they are all about sharing real strategies and real results to help you accelerate your success. And today we are diving into an incredible lead gen topic and opportunity all about YouTube. So I would love for you to help me welcome to our show today, top producer Julio Munoz.
Thank you.
Welcome. We are so excited that you are here.
Thank you.
I cannot wait to dive into this topic today. So, I always like to start with what I call the untold story behind the story, because everybody has a journey that has led them into real estate. So let's start with your story.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I'm an immigrant. I immigrated to the U.S. When I was 14, going into 15. Didn't know any English, which a lot of people are surprised about that for some reason. But immigrated, when I was 14, going into 15. Unfortunately, after a year of being in the U.S., I lost my status because my dad lost his job at the time. And so we were undocumented for about 6 to 7 years. In the meantime, my sister and my mom, that are actually here in the audience, they... They also came to the U.S. Especially my mom, gave up her business. She had a successful business in our country, and they had to start over, right? They probably don't want me to share this, but they used to work at a hotel, cleaning rooms, picking up trays. I was a little bit insulated from all that, but that taught me, that I needed to be successful, right? Because I don't want to see them in that spot ever again. So anyways, fast forward, I was able to gain status as a legal resident or legal citizen. Went to school, kind of did the usual, went to college. I actually got my undergrad, and then I got my doctorate in physical therapy. And then just how life goes, I kind of started figuring out, I was like, well, how can I be financially independent? How can I achieve that dream of being financially free, not have my family go through what they went through, right? Mm-hmm. And then, my children not go through what I went through. And so I kind of went down the rabbit hole of financial freedom, retire early, and I stumbled upon Bigger Pockets, right? Which I'm sure a lot of people have heard about Bigger Pockets. I listened to one particular episode. You guys know this guy, Diego Corzo. Listened to his story, and I was like, oh man, that's kind of my story. I mean, there's some differences, but very similar, right? And I immediately identify with him, his struggles, kind of similar to my struggles. And I'm like, if he can do it, I can do it. And so I reached out to him. I cold called him right away. He answered the phone. He set up a meeting, and later on, he told me that he was testing me to see if I was actually going to show up. I showed up, and we built a relationship. He helped me buy a couple of my first home as a house hack, which that's a whole nother story. And then I kind of became his kind of boots on the ground, where I would try to find deals and then he would bring the money. So we're business partners on a couple of properties. And then after that, I was like, man, I want to become financially free. Like, I really like what you're doing as a realtor. How can I become a realtor? And then, he helped me through that process, became a realtor really quickly, and I was rookie of the year for their team. Then now, this past year, I was their #1 agent, and so here I am.
All right, #1. Give him a huge round of applause for that. That is fantastic. I know there are so many parts of your story that are just so powerful. Shout out to Diego. I know he's watching today, and Victor. And he was, as you said, he was a guest on a podcast, Bigger Pockets. And you kind of were in this place of life where you wanted to figure out how to become financially free. You had a huge motivation to do so. So you were doing tons of research. You came across that podcast, and that's how you connected with Diego. And, that's what I really want to emphasize for everyone listening today, is that you took action. There was a motivation that you had in your heart. You had dreams. That's why I love our show, America's Real Estate Show, because I feel like this is the platform where people like you, every single top producer, gets to share their American dream story. So I really just want to applaud you and your family for everything that you've gone through and that you've achieved. And you were working a full-time job at the same time of getting your real estate license. You had your real estate license, and you were still working your full-time job for about a year, right?
Yeah. And as a lot of people know, if you're in real estate, you cannot do it part-time. It's either full-time or nothing at all. So I felt like I had 2 full-time jobs, my healthcare job and then becoming a realtor at the same time. So
right. And when you connected with Diego, and he was really teaching you the ways of investing, so you started out as an investor, right? And with your first house hack, I remember you sharing with me that you were living in that home, and it was a duplex.
Yeah, in a construction zone, essentially, for a whole year.
Right. And you were rehabbing it yourself?
Yeah, which I don't recommend for anybody to do that. I did it because I wanted to learn, and I wanted to get my hands dirty and figure out how much everything cost, and just how to get it done. But I don't recommend it at all. I used to, I was living in my mattress. My girlfriend at the time, now my fiance, she helped me through a lot of it, but she would only come visit me like twice a week because I can't do this. Like, I didn't even have a fridge, so I had a cooler. So I just had drinks and, deli meat and stuff like that. And so I did that for an entire year. Well, 10 months into it, I was like, okay, I got to get contractors in here. I can't do this anymore. And so, but it was a great experience. And I recommend that, especially if you're younger, do a house hack, because it'll change your life. It's really, I wouldn't say that it was fun, but it was rewarding.
A learning experience. Yes. And that really inspired you. Yep. You were like, gosh, well, there's something, you were watching how successful Diego was and what you were achieving through your own investments, and that really led you to want to become a real estate professional. Is that right?
Yes, yeah.
So then you became a real estate professional, you quit your job after a year. What I love about your story, and again, shout out to Diego, what a wonderful mentor, and both of you are now part of Realty of America.
Yes.
And he was all about sharing his strategy. And he saw that you were putting in the work and how successful you were being. And he helped you map out how to be able to retire yourself from your full-time job.
Full-time job. Yeah, so we sat down. If anybody out there is thinking about doing the same, what we came up with, basically it was most important is to have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses saved up in a savings account, just in case, right? Because as we know, who you talk to today will end up closing in 60 to 90 days, hopefully, right? So you have to have that cushion. And then we had to make sure that I had a few in escrow or under contract. So the goal was to only have 3 to 5 under contract at the time, but I ended up, it was March of 22, I believe. Yeah, March of 22, I ended up having 12 under contract. And so we sat down again, and he's like, dude, why are you still working? Right. And I'm like, I don't know, because it's tough. We know W-2 can be addicting, right? You get that steady paycheck, and you're just afraid to take the next step. And he's like, no, you need to quit. So anyways, quit, and obviously my business took off even more after I quit. So yeah.
So after your first year, then you started to say to yourself, okay, like you knew you were all in at this point, like there was no going back. And you started thinking to yourself, okay, I need to add another lead gen system to my pipeline, right? And that's when you started researching your different options.
Yes.
So talk to all of our agents watching from across the nation what you were researching that led you then to YouTube, because you didn't go right to YouTube.
No, so I've been huge as our CEO and founder, Eddie Garcia. I mean, I'm huge into social media. It's not the future. I mean, if anything, you know, you have to do it right now. And so I was always, first it was Instagram, and I was able to get some momentum with Instagram. But like you said, I always wanted, you know, always looking for that next one, right? And that's how I stumbled upon YouTube. Yeah, after a lot of research, the research showed that it was kind of the future in a way. And then I guess we can talk more about like what YouTube has to offer. You want me to go into that? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So basically, for those of you that don't know, so YouTube is actually the second largest search engine in the entire world. Google being number one. But Google, guess who owns YouTube? Google owns YouTube, so you can kind of double dip with YouTube. So with that being said, a lot of people think that YouTube is a social media platform, but it's not. It's a search engine. And so the powerful thing about that, as opposed to Instagram, TikTok, and others, is that people can actually search your content and find it if they put in the right keywords, right? And so, and then another thing about YouTube is that it is the largest platform that people watch on their TV. So aside from regular TV, but out of the social media platforms, it's the largest with billions of views every single day.
Yes, and I think I remember you saying, isn't it around 60% of people at least that are, when they're watching YouTube, they are watching it on their television, not their phone.
Not their phone. That's another thing that surprised me, is that I figured that people were watching it on their phones, but they actually take their time, they sit down on their couch at home, they turn on the TV, and they actually watch you on TV. And so that's powerful. They're actually taking the time to watch you, and they're not, as opposed to like, let's say Instagram and other ones where we just get on our phones really quickly and we scroll. No, people are very intentional about watching YouTube. So,
yes, and let's do just a small comparison between social media platform, Instagram, TikTok, versus YouTube in terms of what you found just in the quality of people who are reaching out to you. And that's a big distinction that I know we'll get into, because buyers and sellers are actually reaching out to you versus you know, chasing after them, which is a huge difference. And like you said, you did start out on Instagram and you still have success on that platform. So I think it's great that you're able to share and showcase with everyone watching that you're having success on Instagram, but you really found massive success in YouTube. So let's just talk a little bit about the differences that you've seen there.
So the biggest difference is lead quality. With YouTube, they're very intentional. They've done their research. I wish I could show you guys screenshots of the emails or texts, and they've already told you what they want. They've already told you, they're already either pre-qualified or they know they qualify, and they know exactly where they want to go. They have an idea, more or less, and then you just have to guide them as to where to go. But they're so well qualified. Typically, an average price point of a YouTube lead, at least in my area, it's right around $500,000 compared to Instagram, where it's a little bit lower in the $300,000 range. So that's kind of nice. But regardless, we work with everybody. But more than that, more than the price point, it's just that they've done a ton of research already. So they've done almost all the legwork for you. So you just have to guide them to the right place. So I would say that's the biggest difference. It's just the lead quality. They're very educated on the home buying process as well. Most of them are second-time home buyers. Not all of them, but most of them. So they've already been through that process before. And so that's the biggest difference, I would say, the lead quality.
Okay, and then I want to go back to watch time because I think this is really important and super fascinating. So I want everyone to just kind of get in their mind, and I have some stats that we went over. So in 2023, you had 5,000 hours of watch time. So I just want that to sink in for a minute. Everyone that's watching today, people, buyers and sellers, had watched Julio for 5,000 hours. That's a lot. That's a lot of time, right?
Too much of me.
No. And then, but what I think is so cool is now, a year later, just a year later, in 2024, it went up to 15,000 hours of watch time. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, I mean, you are your own TV show. So when we're talking about the 60% of people who are watching on TV, you really are your own TV show. And I think that's a huge difference as well.
And that's what's crazy. I've had some families, I like to do a Zoom because I want to put a face to the name and build that rapport. And sometimes with some of the families, like the kid will come by and then they kind of look at and they say, oh, is that Julio from the TV? And I'm like, that's kind of, it's kind of weird because you wouldn't think. And so what that also made me realize is that it's almost like you're a TV show and they're expecting you every single week. And I know we're going to talk about this, but it's very important to show up every single week for them because they're almost counting on you to show up and to learn more about your area in particular. So,
I know. How exciting is that? And again, I just want everyone to let that sink in. 15,000 hours buyers and sellers have watched Julio. So of course it makes sense with the quality of the leads that are calling you because they've watched you and now they know you, they like you.
Build that trust.
That's right. That's right. You really shorten that gap, I think, in building that credibility. So now let's just kind of jump back for a minute, right? And let's go back to day one when we had 0 hours of watch time, right? Take us through just kind of that experience because I want everyone to really understand, you did not start out as this YouTube star, right? No. So let's maybe just go back for a minute when you first started.
Well, just like with anything, I guess I like to pose a question for the audience or for you, like how many times, even including myself, do you start a diet, right? And you give up after a month, right? I have. Or after 2 months. I have to, after 3 months, after 6 months, right? It's very hard to commit to something. So just to give you some reference, and I think I'm jumping over a little bit, but it was, I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew I had made a commitment to myself to do this. And it was tough because I didn't get my very first lead until after 8 months of posting every single week, sometimes multiple times a week. And it was tough. It was tough. And I think, especially at the beginning, it was figuring out how are people going to watch me? What am I doing in front of the camera? But I think more importantly, it's just sticking to my goal and to my commitment that I said that I was going to do this for a year. I know we're going to talk about that. I jumped over a little bit, but yeah, it was a learning curve. I wanted to give up so many times along the way. I used Diego as my accountability partner, and that also helped. And then obviously using myself as my accountability partner.
Yes. So let's give everyone an idea. So 8 months before you ever received a single phone call, you stayed dedicated and committed. You were posting, 1 to 2 to 3 videos a week at this point. So about how many videos were you at 8 months? How many had you posted?
Yeah, so that's that became really tough is that I was already about 54 videos in. And so that's a lot of reps. And I felt like I was pretty good in front of the camera. And I think obviously I've gotten better with reps, but it was like, man, why are the phones not ringing? Why are the phones not ringing? And yeah, so that was tough. It was 54 videos in, 8 months in until finally I got the first call. And so,
right. I mean, that's a lot of videos.
Yeah.
And what was going through your mind?
Oh, I wanted to give up.
Right? I mean, I would have too. I just would have, I don't know, maybe sat in the corner and cried, like, what's happening?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to lie to you and be like, I wanted to give up.
And so what kept you going?
So it was a combination of, now looking back, it's like, I remember that year that I was going to make it a year of YouTube, and it was the commitment that I made to myself. And then it always helps if anybody out there struggling with goals, or if you're feeling like your motivation kind of goes up and down, if you try something for a month, 2 months, and then you're like, it's not working out. And if you can't hold yourself accountable, because I know it's easier said than done, have somebody else hold you accountable that's completely removed from the emotional stuff that you're going through in your head, because it helps a ton. And one of the things that we do with the team, with the Nino team, is that we hold each other accountable to the highest level that we can. And so I would say anybody out there, if you're by yourself, because this profession can be very lonely, yes. And find somebody, right? Even if it's a family member, a friend, and trust me, they'll remind you. It's like, hey, didn't you say you were going to start this little channel, and what happened? And so that should cue you into saying, he's like, yeah, I told my cousin Pedro that I was going to stay accountable, right? And so I would say that's the biggest thing, yeah.
Right. Well, and I hope for everyone who's watching today that they are going to use you as their inspiration and example. And I would write on a whiteboard, right? Julio, 8 months, 54 videos before one phone call. Yeah. And I would use that, again, as my inspiration, motivation, and benchmark. So everyone is getting, a blueprint today. Yeah. So I want to encourage everyone not to give up.
And I will say, even to this day, I'm already 2 or 3 years full into it. Like, I would be lying to you if there are days when I'm like, man, I don't want to go record. Like, I'm not lying to you. 2 weeks ago, I was like, I don't want to go do this. So don't think that because I've seen a lot of success, I still don't struggle with that. So it happens to all. I mean, we're human beings, so it's going to happen. But I guess at this point now, I see the results. So I know that if I keep doing it, the leads will continue to come in. So.
Right, yeah. Absolutely. So let's shift topics just a little bit to probably a big hurdle that a lot of agents have in doing videos in general, and that's content. Mm-hmm. They struggle with, well, what am I going to make a video about? Right. So let's talk about how you find content, because you are putting out at least one video a week. Mm-hmm. So that's it, which we'll talk about that too. What I think is really powerful for everyone to know that the level of success that you have had, you are posting one video a week. I feel like that's very doable.
Yes.
Very doable. Yeah. So talk to me about how you come up with your ideas, and if there are some videos that you've identified that you feel like, okay, these are definitely the winners.
Yeah. So it's very simple. After all these years, and this is why we're sharing this, so it's just 4 categories for me. And they may change a little bit depending on where you live, but for the most part, it's either a home tour, a neighborhood tour, a neighborhood tour, community tour, I should say. Home tour or community tour, you can group those 2 together. The second one is a pros and cons video. And pros and cons can be about anything. It could be the city of, for me, I live in Austin, Texas, so the city of Austin, but it could be Round Rock, which is a suburb. It could be Georgetown, Dripping Springs. And that's, most of us in any big city, we have at least 10 suburbs around us. That's 10 videos that you can make right there. And so pros and cons is really good. The other one, the third one, which other people that I've talked to, they kind of struggle with this one because they're afraid of the haters. But guess what? The haters bring you more traffic. The haters bring you more eyeballs. So you just have to have a little bit of a tough skin, but it doesn't matter. They're just hating. Let them hate. The phone will keep ringing. That's all that matters.
Right. So, I say you're not doing enough if you don't have haters, right?
Exactly. So this one is the kind of the negative videos, right? But I always put a positive spin to it. So it's basically saying, don't move to Austin because it's too expensive, kind of thing. Or don't move to Austin because too many Californians are moving to the area. Or don't move to Austin because, something very negative and the thumbnail is very negative, the title's negative. And that typically attracts a lot of eyeballs to your channel, which is good, right? And by the way, and I don't think we mentioned this, you don't need a ton of subscribers to get leads. Like, I got my first lead and I only had, I think, about 300 subscribers. So you don't need a ton of subscribers. So anyway, so that was the third one. Just a negative video. You don't have to do them all the time. It could be once a month, maybe once every 2 months if you don't like them. But I always put a positive spin to that video as well, because I don't like being negative anyways. And then the fourth one is cost of living. So you can compare suburbs to suburbs, like, hey, in Round Rock, for a $500,000 home, this is what you get, but in Kyle, Texas, this is what you can get for $500,000. So cost of living, how much does it take to live in Austin, those type of videos. So those are the four. So just to kind of recap, it's either a home tour or a community tour, and those could even be two categories, pros and cons. A kind of a negative video about your area, be very honest in the video. They appreciate that, the audience appreciates it, because you're not trying to like paint it all super positive. And then the last one is the cost of living.
All right, and then I know you really believe in being hyper local.
Yes. Yeah.
So how are you doing your research to prep for each of these videos?
So just like these people are consuming content, I have to consume content too. So one of my biggest resources in my town, in Austin, is we have a business journal, and I subscribe to it. It's a little pricey, but hey, I get even just one of their articles can be a video alone. Mm-hmm. So they keep track of what's coming to Austin, what companies are moving to Austin, new developments, new housing developments, new commercial developments. And then I also follow foodies in my town. I think people know that, especially on Instagram, there's a foodie influencer everywhere. But that's cool because you follow what's the new spot coming in, what's the new restaurant coming in. You can add that onto your video. So the key is to always stay informed as to what's happening in your area, because again, when people reach out, you're the authority, right? They want to know that you know your stuff, and that's what's happened in a lot of the calls. Is that when they get on a call with me, and I always like to get them on Zoom, is that they realize that I know a lot about the area, because they're like, yeah, we talked to two or three other realtors, but they didn't seem to know as much as you do. Or they were like, no, don't go to that area, or no, you're not going to like that, which is, as you guys know, it's illegal to do. But that's what they've told me, right? And so with me, I don't tell them where to go. I just share the facts about every single area. And then depending on that, they select what they like. So staying up to date, what's happening in your town. I follow like all so each city will have like a little Instagram page about the specific suburb. I follow their pages and I just stay up to date on those suburbs all the time. So.
And how about like local news stations, local
news anchors, always, because sometimes they're ahead of the curve too. And so I follow them with current events or things that are coming to the area. Mainly just things that are coming, right? Because people are excited about what's coming. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, and so let's go back to the four categories that you mentioned. Which ones would you say, like for sure, out of the four, is there a top one or a top two that always just completely crush it for you?
The ones that and I don't have data to back it up, this is just from what clients tell me, is the ones that actually make the phone ring is the home tours and the neighborhood tours. So be very detailed about showing the neighborhood, showing the houses. People appreciate that. I would say those. The negative one, you bring a lot of haters, so you just bring a lot of views, and that helps your channel. But the ones that actually make the phone ring is the home tours and the neighborhood tours.
Okay.
So I would say, and we talked about this. So let's say here in Chicago, I don't know how much new construction you have in Chicago, but don't let that stop you. Yes, I have a lot of new construction in Texas, and that can help me, but hey, guess what? There's probably 1,000 listings in your city. Just contact the listing agents and say, hey, I can bring you more exposure to your listing by promoting it on YouTube. Of course, you'll get a listing agent like, no, I don't want to do, don't show my listing on YouTube. Or they just get jealous that you actually have a following on YouTube and they don't, and they can't offer that to their client. Mm-hmm. But if anything, you're coming from a place of helping them. So just because you don't have any new construction, you can still show the neighborhood and show what listings are available in that neighborhood, and people will still reach out because they're like, hey, that's the neighborhood that we're thinking about moving to, and that's what you can get in that neighborhood, and they appreciate that. So whether it's resale or new, you can still show homes. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So the $1 million question, literally, because this has made you millions, is let's talk about things that you're doing to truly get buyers and sellers calling you. That's huge, right?
Yeah.
So I want to start with one tool, TubeBuddy. Is TubeBuddy something that you are using to help you craft your titles and your tags, which I do want to make, a distinction. That's not the thumbnail.
Right.
So titles
Right.
and tags, totally different than the thumbnail. So are you using any type of tool like that?
Yeah, and not to get too much into the weeds, because I think that's one of the things that sometimes prevents agents from doing YouTube. But yes, TubeBuddy is your buddy. It's pretty much everything for your channel, because it kind of it walks you through constructing your episode and each video. It'll help you with how to come up with a title, but it's a tool. So like the name says, it's a tool. You still have to put in the work. What are people actually searching, right? But it helps you construct the title. It helps you come up with the keywords. It helps you come up with the tags. And then it even helps you kind of come up with a description at times. But remember, it's a tool. It's not everything. You still have to put in the work to figure out what's working. So, but yes, TubeBuddy is key.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so thumbnails, I know, are
Yeah.
important. How important would you say that they are? And what would be maybe some of your do's and don'ts around thumbnails?
Yeah, thumbnails are very, very important as well, as is the video. But you want people to click on your video. So faces, we're human beings, so seeing a face or seeing bright colors, it tends to attract our attention. So showing your face is very important, because they trust you, right? So seeing a familiar face, they want to click on it. So always showing your face up close is very important. So usually from the waist up, or even from your chest up, is all that you need. And then a caption big enough to catch their attention, right? And bright colors are always key. One thing that may hurt some people is where it's just a weird background that does not match the video at all, and people tend to do this a lot. One thing that we've kind of been finding out is that especially as our attention span gets shorter and shorter, is try to make sure that your thumbnail matches the beginning of your video. Very important. So sometimes what I do is that I take a selfie or take a picture of where I'm starting the video. And so it's almost like a smooth transition into the intro of the video. Because if they're clicking on it, they want to see right away what they're clicking on. So,
Right.
yeah.
That makes sense. How about video length? Because I
Yeah.
know this is a huge question, right? Well, how long does my video need to be? So have you found a sweet spot that YouTube really loves, because we want to play to their algorithm? So what have you found to work?
Yeah, so average view duration is huge for YouTube, meaning, just like with any platform, they want to keep you on their platform. So the longer your average view duration is, meaning how long people are watching your video, is the best. So especially when you Google it, or when you ask ChatGPT, they say that 7 to 10 minutes is the sweet spot, and that's not true, or at least not in my experience, especially for the real estate business. The longer the better, and there's not even a number. I would say if you can get it above 30 minutes, even better, because you want the average view duration to be as long as possible, so that YouTube will continue to push your video. So I honestly, I do have some that are in the 15-minute range, but I try to be above 20 all the time. And sometimes I'm not, but that's okay. But the longer, the better. I even have some videos that get up into the 50-minute range, and then you're like, well, what am I going to talk about for 50 minutes? But guess what? The houses are your content. The neighborhoods are your content. You literally, and we were talking about this. So if you think you don't have enough to talk about in 50 minutes, trust me, like you do, because imagine that you're walking a client through the neighborhood, through the homes. You're talking to the client. You're saying, hey, this is a cool coffee spot here. Or you're only 10 minutes driving from your house. Or as you're walking through the house, you just literally just describe the house, and that gives you 20 minutes right there. So if you feel like you're talking too much, you're not, because you're trying to build that trust with the audience, and they want to get to know you. So throw in some jokes, throw in your personality, because that's why they're calling you, right?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's touch on consistency again, because I think this is huge, right? Not only for the algorithm, but you also mentioned that you're doing one video a week, and you really feel like that's all it takes. So talk a little bit about that, because I'm hoping that that is giving all the agents watching us today a lot of hope and encouragement in feeling like, okay, one video a week, I can do this.
Yeah, so consistency is probably, as cliche as it sounds, it's probably the number one thing that has helped me the most as I became a realtor. It's tough. It's very tough, but treat it like a love language. The more consistent that you are, the more you're loving yourself in a way. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it's true. It's the more you're gonna see results, the more you're gonna see momentum with YouTube. That was the thing is, for an entire year I posted videos, but it was the following year where my life essentially changed. That's where people call every single week. But it took that entire year of hard work and grinding and doubting myself. So working through that consistency, and consistency being kind of your north, right? And going back to the once a week, I mean, that's all it takes. I used to post more, but that's not necessary. As long as you can post once a week a good quality video, that's all that you need. And literally it takes me a lot less time, but just dedicating one day. This is going to be my day for YouTube. Maybe half a day on a Sunday when, let's say, you don't have any showings or things to do later on a Sunday. Just prep, right? Do some research. What are you going to talk about? And then whatever day during the week you go shoot, and that's it. Yeah.
So what I would say, you're batching your content, you're picking a day. I think you shoot on Tuesdays. Is that right? And so about how many videos are you getting done on Tuesday?
Just one. I know that sounds like a lot, or like very little, but I used to batch content or like shoot 2 to 3 per day, but it was a lot. And I noticed that my energy would go down on the second or third video, and I wanted to be very energetic in the video. And so I stopped. Maybe not by the second one, but maybe by the third, it was like you could just tell my eyes were kind of low. You know, like I needed food or sugar or something. And so I stopped doing that. And even people that are more successful than me, they confirm that. It's like all you need is just one video per week. And you're fresher if you're just shooting one per week. Now, make sure that you prepare ahead of time. Like if you're going to go out of town during that time, you may have to do 2 that week, right? So you don't miss. And I did that recently where I went out of town and I shot 2 that day so that I stay ahead of the curve. But you really don't need to shoot more than once per week. Yeah.
Okay, so let's
It's not like Instagram and TikTok, yeah.
Right. So let's, back into this a little bit. So if you know that Tuesday is your shoot day, then when are you doing your prep? When have you done your research? When have you maybe written out your notes? When do you have like everything ready to go? So when Tuesday comes around, you're like, boom, I'm ready. And you're doing this by yourself. You don't have a videographer, and I know we'll talk about equipment and all of that, but you are doing this solo. You are a one-man show here.
Yeah. No, so usually I either prep on a Sunday or on a Monday. Typically Monday afternoons. Do research on the community, the pricing, whatever development is coming to the area. And now it doesn't take me that long, obviously with the reps, but typically it's just a day before, 2 days before. And what I would recommend if we want to get maybe into a little bit more is coming up with a video structure. I don't have to do it anymore, but I used to. And I can show you, like I have Google Docs of all these videos where I would come up with a structure because it keeps you organized. Now I just do it just because of the reps. But it's good to have a structure because it keeps you organized and you don't forget, I forgot to talk about this and I forgot to talk about that. So, and then there was another thing that you mentioned.
I'm curious, something that just came to mind. Are you using any sort of AI tool to help you? ChatGPT?
No, so I know last week you had Sam talk about AI, but I'm not super tech savvy, I'll be honest. And I'm still kind of behind on AI, so no, I don't use AI at all. But I need to, because I know it's the present now, it's here and it's coming. But no, I don't.
I
Yeah.
think that's okay though. I
Yeah.
mean, again, I'm hoping that all agents that are watching today are getting hope and inspiration. You're not using ChatGPT, you're doing your own research on Google, you're writing out your own, structure, like you said, you're filming yourself, and you're putting all your energy and focus and intention into shooting one excellent video a week. And with the categories that you mentioned at the very beginning, are you kind of rotating through those categories? So you're kind of keeping track of, okay, this Tuesday I did a house tour.
Right.
Okay, now next week I'm going to do a pros and cons. So have you kind of created yourself a content calendar of sorts?
Yeah, it's definitely, sometimes it happens where they go back to back. And then I've also lately, I'll almost come up, so I mean, you follow those 4 categories, especially when you're starting out, just keep it simple, keep it dumb. But now I'm actually like creating a hybrid to where I'll do a pros and cons, but then at the same time I'm doing a home tour. And so it's like you knock out 2 things and it keeps people engaged. But yeah, typically you don't want them back to back, right? You want to keep people entertained, which is, again, very weird to think about, but you're a show in a way.
Right.
And so I kind of go down the list, or I do a hybrid, so that's kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
I would probably put it in the category of edutainment.
Yeah,
Right? It's
exactly.
like education and entertainment.
Yeah.
Edutainment. Okay, so what I love about everything that you've shared so far is I feel like what you have communicated is YouTube isn't rewarding perfection.
Oh, no.
YouTube is rewarding consistency
Yes.
and authenticity.
Yes.
So, and I feel like everybody can do that. Everyone can be themselves and they can get consistent.
Oh, yeah.
So I love that. That encourages me for sure. So let's dive into
show up. Yeah.
Right, show
Yeah,
up,
just show up.
do the work. So let's talk about calls to action, because I imagine that you're working in somewhere into your videos some different calls to action that are encouraging people to get in touch with you, because again, they're reaching out to you. You're not reaching out to them. So what does that look like?
Yeah, so that is the beauty about YouTube, is that they're inbound leads. They're coming to you, they're reaching out to you, they trust you. They've seen you every single week for about 6 months, and they're like, we know you. We know your stupid jokes too, dad jokes that I throw in every once in a while that are terrible. And so they build that rapport with you. And so it's, sorry, what was the question? I completely blanked out.
That's okay.
Oh, the calls to action.
Your calls to action. Your calls to action.
So yeah, the calls to action. So before, I'm glad that we're sharing this, because don't even introduce yourself at the beginning of the video. People don't care. They just want to see whatever they clicked on. They want to see whatever the title is on. So you can be more sneaky. So don't introduce yourself. Now, I don't even say who I am at the beginning of the video. Sometimes it pops up on the screen, but I don't say who I am. I just go straight into the video, and then about 4 to 5 minutes into the video is when I maybe mention my name, but I definitely don't miss a call to action. Depending on the length of the video, I put multiple ones, but it's basically, it goes very simple. It just says, I'm touring the house, and if you're interested in this house, or if you're interested in moving to the Austin area, make sure to shoot me a text, give me a call, or schedule a Zoom on this QR code. So that's something new that I added to the channel. And that's it. That's simple. And then I sprinkle those in throughout the video, but I'm not in your face like, hey, my name is Julio Monagas, and I'm a realtor in Austin. Please work with me. No, none of that. It's just very subtle here and there, but you have to put them in there, because then if not, they don't know how to contact you, right? And so they're very important, but you don't have to be on their face about it, and you don't have to tell them your life story, because they don't care. They just want to watch the video. They want to see the house. And they'll get to know you as the video goes along, so you don't even have to sell yourself in a way. So
Right. So call, text,
email, or Zoom. I like Zooms just because you see their face. You can tell if they're smiling or not, your jokes, or it's just better face to face, right? I mean, we're humans. We like to see another human face. And so I try to direct them to Zoom as much as I can. So.
Right. And so out of all of these different calls to action, which would you say are the ones that buyers and sellers are typically using to get in touch with you?
So the most common ones are texts and emails. And those are awesome because It's in writing. They literally tell you everything that they've done, everything that they want, who they are, when they're coming into town, when they want to move, and you have it in writing. Phone calls are tough because, as we all know, sometimes we get a ton of spam. Even though I know it is technically a YouTube lead, but sometimes you miss the call if you're in an appointment. But typically, thankfully, they reach out. Email or text are the biggest ones. So.
Okay, and are these, the texts, the emails, the phone calls, are these going into any type of CRM? Are they funneling to a CRM?
So I use Follow Up Boss, awesome CRM. So I put my Follow Up Boss number on YouTube on purpose so that they all go straight into the CRM. And same with my email, it's connected to Follow Up Boss. And then from there it populates. And then after I have that initial call, I usually put them in lists. And then each list will have a campaign of sorts of how to follow up. So
okay,
if they're hot, if they're ready to go, I'm following up with them personally, 2 to 3 times a week, because those are the ones that are ready. So.
Right. And that was going to be one of my next questions about your CRM. So do you have some type of nurture process set up? So for the ones that aren't ready to go right this minute, that you're still nurturing them and you still automated in a way.
Yeah. But that's the cool thing about Follow Up Boss is they have all these campaigns already set up for you. Obviously you can tweak them a bit, especially for YouTube. Because I get a lot of relocation people, some in town, but majority relocation. So you have to adjust things a little bit. But Follow Up Boss does everything for you, essentially. You have the campaign. It gives them a touch either, once a week or once per month, depending on where they're at in their process. So, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, before I go to my next question, I'm going to do a little shout out to my production team. I would love for all of our viewers to start sending in questions. So right about now, you're going to see a QR code. Send in any questions that you would love for Julio to answer while we're all here together. Use the QR code, or for some reason it's not popping up into your text, then there's a phone number, and just text your questions to that phone number, and we're going to field your questions, and we're going to do some organic Q&A before we wrap up today. Okay, so now that brings me to another question that I have for you, which is leads. Okay, so the whole reason we're doing this is because we want buyers and sellers reaching out to you. So let's give everybody an idea. How many calls, texts, etc. would you say, so inbound conversations, would you say that you're getting a month based on the activity that you're doing from your channel?
So very surprising. On average, per month, it's anywhere from 40 to 45 leads per month. But the conversion is very high. It's, out of those, it's, typically as agents, if we have a conversion rate of, I think it's 2 to 5%, we're happy. But with these guys, it's in the 20s and the 30% conversion rate. So I know that you were surprised when we talked about that.
Yes, I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, 40. When you said 40, I was like, wait, not 400, right? So 40 leads, and again, I just want everybody listening today, let that sink in. Yeah. 40 leads a month. Yeah. You're doing 1 video a week. And would you say this strategy has doubled your business?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so doubled your business. And again, I just want everyone to get hope and inspiration from this. 1 video a week, 40 leads a month, and you are doing, this has truly made you millions. Yeah. So I'm thinking I would get super motivated to figure out how to do 1 video a week, right? Yeah. This is fantastic. So let's jump into equipment, because I know that's always a huge question, right? I think that everybody feels starting that they need to have like a Hollywood production, right? Well, we've got to go Hollywood. And all sorts of gear and mics and cameras and lights and all the things. So let's give people hope here. What are you using? What are your favorite things?
So my biggest money maker is this.
All right, there we go, your iPhone.
This is my camera. This is really my everything. My fiance wouldn't like that, but this is it. This is literally it. I use my phone. My phone is my camera and a selfie stick. I know Ashley made fun of me on one of the videos that probably, she was like, please don't put the selfie stick in the camera. in the shot. So when I was trying to promote the episode for today, but it's literally my phone, a selfie stick, and then a microphone. And the microphone cost me, I started out with a very, very affordable one. I think it was like $50. And then I went to ones that cost $150. But then it's a phone that you already have. It's a selfie stick that costs like $30. And then that's it. And then I enjoy drone shots, so I learned how to fly a drone, and I bought a drone. That was the most expensive part of my tools, that you could say, my equipment. But you don't even need the drone, because sometimes you can find, I haven't been able to find them, but I know that there are tools out there that have like generic drone shots of your city. But yeah, that's it. That's literally, and this is what I use every single week. Yeah.
I love it. Okay, so I'm going to shift gears, and we're going to do some organic Q&A. Okay, so for all of our live streamers out there, this is your opportunity to send in your questions. We're going to spend just a little bit of time answering these back and forth. So the first one, which I'm not surprised at all, is about editing. Okay. So now I know right now you do have a team.
Yes.
But before you had a team, so let's take it way back, right, to everybody who's just getting going. Do you have a favorite app or tool that you used that you would recommend?
Yeah, so to give you some perspective, I started out with iMovie, which is, I know and again, I'm not a videographer or an editor, I know it's very basic. And then I moved on to Premiere, is one of the best ones out there. And yeah, I used to edit my videos myself, create my thumbnails myself. Some of those videos I was recommended to put them as private, so they're not on my channel anymore. But yeah, that's how I started. But that, honestly, even though, yes, I have an editing team now because I want to leverage and create more time for myself, but that taught me a lot too. It taught me the right keywords. It taught me how to set up the right titles, right? And TubeBuddy helps you with that, but you still need the reps, right? You can't, so that's one of the biggest things, and us realtors know this, especially top producers, it's like you can't avoid the work. You have to put in the work. There's no shortcut. Yes, we have a ton of tools out there now with AI, but you have to put in the work. That's the only way to get better, as boring as that sounds. But yeah, I mean, I would recommend Premiere, the #1 program for editing.
Okay. Okay, our next audience question is about YouTube Shorts. They'd like to know how you feel about YouTube Shorts. Are you using that in any way?
So I don't recommend them. I even reached out to a YouTube guru, I guess. And by the way, I'm not a guru by any means, but somebody that was more successful than I was. He's out in Florida, and I listened to him because he does even more business than I do. He told me, do not do shorts. So I remember at the beginning of my channel, I started doing shorts, and what he told me, and again, this is coming from somebody that has more experience, it takes away from the long form content. So what it does from your channel, so what it does is that, just like on Instagram, right? People are there for maybe 30 seconds, maybe even 10 seconds top. And you want to build that audience that actually will sit down on their TV and watch you, right? And so the shorts, again, and I don't have any data to back this up, but what he was telling me, he's like, you want audiences that are doing their research and that are actually intentional. When it's a short, yeah, you catch their attention, but they're going to keep scrolling. So they may not even go onto your page and your channel. So I had a bunch of shorts, I deleted them, and you actually saw my analytics change after that, because I was getting views from India, from China, from places that are not in the U.S. I mean, nothing against it, but it's just they're not going to do business technically in the U.S. or they're not going to relocate to the U.S. very easily. And so you want people that are actually living here, or they're living in your area, or they're actually going to move to your area. So long story short, it just takes away from your channel the long form content, and that's our goal, long form content.
Okay, so you're all about the long form.
Yeah.
Okay, no shorts. All right. Next question is about featuring local restaurants, other local businesses. Do you incorporate that and make that part of the videos that you're shooting?
So very good question. I don't. And the reason being, what I found out, yes, people care about those things, but they don't necessarily care about if a 4-star restaurant or if the best donut in town is near my house. They want to know what the house looks like. They want to know what the neighborhood looks like. Are there parks for their kids? What are the school rankings? So I used to do that, but I noticed that it would take away from the video and what people really wanted to watch. And if you look at the analytics, the viewers would drop during that segment. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's fun. But people are very intentional, and they just want to know what kind of house they can get, what's the price, what are the incentives, and then the neighborhood, what does it look like, and what do you have to say about the area. And that's it. So I would, if you like doing that, you can kind of sprinkle it in maybe at the end of the video, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay. And I think that goes back to really kind of where we started this conversation in really differentiating YouTube versus social media platforms. So this next question, I feel like leads into that as well. And this agent is asking, if you're mixing in any type of personal type of videos, or are you sticking with all business? And I think that probably, again, goes back to YouTube as a search engine versus a social media platform.
What I would and I don't know if the question was like my personal life, like lifestyle type videos, which you see a lot on YouTube. No, I don't do that. But I would say, show your personality, talk about yourself. Maybe you used to live in this area and you loved it because of these reasons. And I used to eat at this restaurant. So share those things because people want to know and they trust you. But I wouldn't say, and I don't know if that's what they ask. But no lifestyle, like I'm driving in the car and I'm going to my gym kind of thing. No, nothing like that.
None of that. But you were saying lifestyle type videos, of course. Yes, where you're showing the community.
The community, right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Not lifestyle about myself.
Right.
But lifestyle about the community, what it's like to live there, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. Well, this has been super fun to do the organic Q&A.
Yeah,
I always love that. Yeah, so here's what we're going to do before we send everybody off with your final words of wisdom is I would love for everybody to welcome to the stage a 30-year vet in the mortgage industry, Miss Irma De Leon.
Thank you, Ashley. Julio, wow. First of all, you've inspired me to start looking into YouTube because I am not consistent, and I'm going to be transparent on that and being in social media. I love your story in the sense of just, you hear your mom and your sister inspired you. You took action and you made it an effort to be to where you're at today, and you made all those sacrifices. So congratulations. Let's give them a round of applause, everyone. Hi, my name is Irma De Leon. I'm a 30-year veteran in the mortgage industry, and I'm a proud single mother of 2 amazing sons. I have a question for all of you. Do you work with investors that are looking to buy a home to fix and flip or to perhaps buy and rent? Well, we all are probably familiar with the product called DSCR, the Debt Service Coverage Ratio Program, where we don't have to qualify the individual, right, your investor. We actually qualify the property and make sure that the property is covering at least the mortgage rent. Great program. Well, I'm going to one-up that one. We actually have what's called the DSCR Home Equity Line of Credit now. So what that means is your rental income now is the golden ticket to get a revolving line of credit. So your investors can now use that line of credit to buy another property to fix and flip. So perhaps they get this line of credit on their investment property right now. They then start to expand their portfolio. So if you'd like more information on this, there's a QR code, text MCA, and our team members will be happy to get in touch with you. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Irma. All right, yes, text the code word MCA, and Irma and her team would love to talk to you further. Okay, so as we were wrapping up the show, I told you it went so fast, right?
I know.
I'm always I can't believe that we're already at time. Yeah. I know. So what would you like to send everyone off with today? What would be your biggest piece of advice so that all the agents watching today will take action?
So before you get into the weeds of, building my channel and what am I going to name it and what am I going to do, and which is exactly what I did. I went and watched the top channels in my area. Actually, it wasn't in my area. It was out in Houston. The top 2 channels in that area. Just watch their videos. How are they talking to the camera? What are they're saying? How are they moving through the house? And just watch them. I mean, I think I watched so many of their videos for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So I would recommend go watch somebody. You can go watch my channel if you want, or somebody else in your area, and just watch them for a couple of weeks. Learn their flow. What are they saying? And you can copy them. Like literally, you can copy me. You can copy them. And then obviously with time, you have your own style, and you're gonna have your own jokes. But at the beginning, that's what we do. We model people, right? And so I think that's the biggest thing that I would say before you get into all the weeds of the channel. And then go shoot videos and copy that person that you look up to. And then, of course, which has been the theme of today's episode, consistent. Be consistent. I know it's easier said than done, but it has definitely changed my life completely, being consistent and showing up. Just show up. That's half of the battle for all of us, whether it's to the gym or to shoot a video. Just show up is the biggest thing.
100%. And let's give them a deadline. We don't want them to get stuck in analysis of paralysis.
Yes, yeah.
So let's give them a good deadline.
So I would say it's by what are we at? April? By mid-April, well, let's say end of April.
Okay.
They should have at least picked 2 channels, and they should have at least watched 5 videos on each channel by the end of April.
Okay, I love that, including yours.
Yeah,
Make sure, yes, and I know that you would love to help absolutely anybody who wants to use YouTube as their blueprint and their strategy. So please reach out to Julio. You will see some QR codes to his YouTube channel and to his Instagram. So please DM him, get in touch with him. He would absolutely love to mentor you, to coach you, to answer any questions that you have. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Give him a huge round of applause. I mean, what you've achieved is absolutely incredible. Yes, you're a powerhouse, absolute powerhouse. And you've only been in this business for 3 years.
I know.
I mean, 3 years, and you've done, like well over 50 million. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. Please stay in touch with America's Real Estate Show. The best way to know what is going on and who our next guest is to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can get notified. Yes, subscribe to our channel so you can get notified about our next guest. Follow us on Instagram, and I would love to hear from every single one of you. Please DM Ashley J. Polito. Let me know what type of top producers you'd like to see on this stage, what types of content, what types of questions that you have. We want to hear from you. So please reach out, Ashley J. Polito. All right, next Friday, we will be back. We are here every single Friday, 11 a.m. Central. See, we're consistent. Look at that. Look at that. We're here every single week, no matter what is going on. And we have a powerhouse, a real estate titan in the industry next week. Teen mom, covert ops to running billion-dollar businesses. You do not want to miss Claudia Zaker next week. All right, everybody, thank you for being with us, and we'll see you soon.